egotistical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, that is right. Welcome, everybody, on in to the Molly Shannon and Jonas Brothers SNL Roundtable here on the Saturday Night Network. My name is John from the SNN. Very pumped to be with you on this Monday night with a great panel to break down everything we saw from this weekend's show, including the return of some fan favorite characters, some really cool moments that I can't wait to dive into. And of course, it's always very special when a former cast member comes back to the show. So let's dive right in with our guest tonight. And joining us first is a huge fan of Molly Shannon. It is Andrew Haynes. Haynes, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. This was a particularly special week for me. I've said on the show a million times, when I was getting into SNL, it was like 1997. So, of course, Molly Shannon was one of the major stars of the show. So I've been incredibly excited about this and definitely looking forward to talking about some possibly controversial sketches tonight.
Interesting. All right. A little bit of a tease for what we're going to get tonight on the Roundtable. And joining us as well, he is no stranger to controversy. It is Sean Grant. Sean, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good, John. I'm ready to start some mess up in here.
Let's do it.
That's what we've come to do. Nah, man, I'm excited to talk about. I didn't know a lot about Molly. I had to do some extra research. The 95 to 2001 was there's a lot of black TV going on.
Yeah, what were you doing in 1995, Sean?
Definitely watching Fresh Prince was on, Martin was on, Living Single. Not a lot of time. I missed a lot of the SNL during that time period, but I was trying to research and go back and look up some Molly Shannon and enjoy. Didn't even see Superstar. My wife almost beat me because I didn't see that movie. She almost hit me, and I was going to call the police, but I didn't see that. But I did my research, John. I'm ready. I know you be looking at me sometimes like I'm full of crap because I come on here unprepared. But I tell you what, I watched the whole episode. I have my notes ready Saturday morning. That's how ready I was. Okay.
Honestly, that's the least you got to do, and I appreciate it, Sean. Just watch the episode for us. So that's great. So very excited to get into it with you. And this podcast is going to be great. Already had two great guests, and the cherry on top to this all is Amanda Mitchell. So Amanda, how you doing?
I'm lovely. I got out of a plane today. I ate dinner and I sat down and I watched SNL, and I'm so happy to be here. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. I also have a question for Sean. How did you write notes on Saturday morning for a show?
Oh, damn. You busted me. You snitched. All right, John. I just watched the show. And I scribbled some. No, I'll just play it. John knows I always have to fight from him the next day to watch it chronologically. I got to make sure that, because that does matter. Before I would come on and watch it in pieces, but John sends me a link. I don't know if it's legal. I don't even know if I should have said that. But I had shows Saturday night, so I missed the live. But I saw it Sunday morning, and I'm ready to go.
Yes, to our friends at NBC, it is legal.
It's very legal.
That's very legal. Everything is kosher here. Okay, let's get into our discussion about Molly Shannon, Sean's favorite cast member of all time. Well, I know that when I was watching the show was in a little bit of a dark place before Molly Shannon came onto the show. So this was in season 20 of the show, 1995. Right after the year where, Phil Hartman left the show, Dana had left earlier that year, then Mike Myers leaves the show, and it is in a weird place. We're coming off that second famous golden era, and, they decide to bring in, these, random cast members. Chris Elliott was on the show, Janine Garofalo, Laura Keitlinger. It was just like a mix of weird cast members. And then in the spring, it comes this bright addition to the show in Molly Shannon, who joins at the end of season 20. We didn't know if the show was going to even survive at that point, right? But Molly, fortunately, was able to flourish because she would come back and join all of these new great cast members like Daryl Hammond, Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan, a lot of cast members that joined in season 21. And she just, comes on with these great characters and would stick all the way through to 2001. And I felt personally like she is one of the major reasons why we were able to kickstart into this new era in the mid 90s and eventually bring SNL back. So Haynes, what does Molly Shannon mean to you as a cast member?
I mean, she is, she's part of my origin story. She was the mother of SNL, in a way to me. Her and Anna Gasteyer. Well, listen, I mean, I loved Sherry O'Terry. I loved, Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan. I love them all. I mean, I was falling in love with this TV show, and back then, I was seeing they were playing a lot of replays on Comedy Central of stuff from the early to mid 90s. So, I was having a chance to fall in love with Farley and Sandler and Dana Carvey and all that stuff too. But, for these fresh episodes, when I would get a chance to, maybe stay up at a friend's house or something for a sleepover and watch SNL upstairs when the parents didn't know or something, this was the woman who was like stealing the show every weekend. And she's like never disappointed me in any way. And she seems like the best person in the world. She seems so nice. And just when I see her sitting in on like comedy panels and roundtables, she just always brings something so fun and exciting to the conversation. I love Molly Shannon. I can't say enough about her. So I was really looking forward to this, and it was wonderful to have her back again.
Definitely. I mean, with all credit to, Jan Hooks, who was fantastic on the show, Nora Dunn, it definitely deserves some credit as well. But it really had been since the original cast prior to Molly and Sherry and Anna Gasteyer that we really felt like, there was moments where women started to dominate the show again. And obviously it'll continue to grow into Tina and Amy and Maya and Rachel and Kristen eventually. But, she is such an important character and cast member throughout the history of the show. Amanda, I would love to get your thoughts on your memories of Molly Shannon, how you feel about her.
I love Molly Shannon. I've loved her. I feel like much like Andrew's origin story, my origin story on SNL, like I didn't realize there was a time when Molly Shannon wasn't on the show for like a really long time, because like I would sneak downstairs and my parents would be watching SNL and I would be watching Molly Shannon and Will Ferrell and all of these people just get into tomfoolery on television, and she is such a joy to watch because she just fully commits, and there's this beautiful innocence about the way that she brings to me every single performance. I'm rewatching the other two, and if you haven't watched the other two, please watch the other two. And it is fantastic, and she is so good on that show. But it's in her work with Mike White and all of that, watching it over the years, I was thrilled that I was going to be coming here to talk to you guys about this woman and this show. And I just think that she deserves everything, all the flowers, all the crowns. Give it to her. I love her.
Yeah, Sean, I think that what's interesting, and I'm curious your thoughts on Molly as, a cast member, because she created these characters that had so much energy and spunk to them. And we got to see a few this week. What have you seen of Molly over the years, and what, how would, in your mind, you would think of her if somebody were to bring up her name as an SNL cast member?
Man, you set me up, man. I don't know. I've seen like her involved in other sketches, and as a part of, I had to research the Jeannie Darcy. Was that an old character? Because I couldn't even find it on YouTube because I couldn't get the sketch. I'm sure it was one of those where I'm like, I know I'll get this.
Sean, stop trolling us.
Wait, you see what I'm saying? Like, John, you about to start. This is the controversy.
Don't even get me started, Sean. But
you about to get my ass whooped, and you about to come over here and kick my ass, man. Look, she seems like a bright light, but look, man, I'll be honest, I didn't.
Okay, well,
she was my generation's Cecily.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Got you.
That's fair. And by the way, for the Jeannie Darcy stuff, I mean, Jeannie Darcy was done like a couple times on Weekend Update. So you'd really have to dig into Update to be able to like find a character like Jeannie Darcy, where it was like Jimmy and let's say, I think it was Jimmy and Tina maybe would cut to Jeannie Darcy, and would be just like the Update stand up. And so it was so like obscure that it wasn't necessarily as big. But of course, it was like Mary Katherine Gallagher. That was the big sketch, the superstar character. That was the one that, was so popular, was brought back for SNL 40. That, and I would say that Delicious Dish, the Terry Rialto, and the one character that she did with Anna Gasteyer, I think those were the two that just like permeated past SNL.
Yeah, those are the ones that would come up most. But yeah, I'm a very casual.
That's okay.
She seems very, very nice, but I wasn't. Yeah, a lot of sketches, man. We'll talk about it. I suppose. But I think this is gonna be a very somebody's gonna get mad at me, and I'm with it. Because I wasn't. I'm very curious to what you guys thought of all the sketches and how they came together. But comparing to the rest of the season, man, I don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to dive into that in just a little bit. Before we do, I want to wrap up our discussion on Molly Shannon. And I do want to ask Haynes. So Molly Shannon does come back for the first time as a host in 16 years. So it's been a long time for that we've seen her host the show. Obviously, she was there for the Betty White night, and as well, for SNL 40. But, do you think that this adds to her legacy, Haynes, or was her legacy already cemented at the show?
Okay, well, anytime someone comes back and hosts, there's no way to deny it. Of course, it adds another layer to each hosting event. It's been a while, but in her second event, of course, it adds more to the legacy. But if you're asking if her legacy was fully secured before this, of course, and if she had never come back and hosted, I think it still would, because of the impact she had during those 6 seasons and the recurring sketches that the characters that we're still in love with. We didn't even get to touch on my personal favorite character, Helen Madden, from the licensed joyologist, who really just loves everything, and she's got the kicks to prove it. So I was hoping we would get a little bit of a Helen Madden homage. We did not, but we got 3 other great ones, and shout out to Andy Hoagland, SNL in Review, who I believe posted just a day before the show that Jeannie Darcy is her her best character, and then of course we got that great Jeannie Darcy pre-tape, so that was awesome.
For sure. There are some other ones that I'll just, say for SNL fans who love Molly, who we didn't get to see, like Dog Show is a great Molly Shannon sketch, in case you missed that one. There's also, she's done some amazing impressions over the years. We got to see one impression on this show from Molly in terms of the journalist that she was playing at the end on the CNN app. But Monica Lewinsky was like a huge impression for her at the time. Anna Nicole Smith, I think she talked about this on Jimmy Fallon last week. And she actually did Melania Trump when she came back to host for the first time, which is a really funny connection of someone who's sort of still in the media in a way. Sean, you have a question?
What can I ask to add to your question, to what you said? And I want to ask Amanda and Andrew. When somebody in sports, because I always use sports as a reference, it can hurt someone's legacy to come back. People feel like his legacy was hurt when he played for the Wizards. Roy Jones Jr. just a couple weeks ago got his ass whooped in a professional fight. And
the answer to your question is no.
Okay. Now, is it because of the nature of sketch comedy or art? Or are you just saying that it was a good episode and everything's fine? It doesn't matter if it wasn't a great episode.
Well, I think we're talking about a single episode. If Jordan had come back for a single game, that's one thing, but he came and played for like 3 years for the Wizards or whatever it was. So I think she didn't come back and join the cast and then not be the star that she used to be. She's coming back.
She could though.
Yeah, you're right. She absolutely could. But
and that's a different topic of conversation.
Just
that's
manifest
a
that real
whole
quick.
different topic of conversation.
But she could come. Listen, Sean, this is like Jordan being invited back to the Bulls arena to be celebrated before the game while they rain, adulation on him. Like that's what we're doing. That's what this was for Molly. So it's just a chance for us to celebrate all the legacy that she's already created. And I think she has such an extensive catalog. I can't imagine what she would have to do on the, hosting to ruin that legacy, unless she just came back and was like, I mean, just did something like unbelievably horrible, like not as far as like not funny, but like horrible. Like if she was just just said something super messed up or something and, ruined her, got canceled or something,
Okay.
Yeah, I want to get Amanda's thoughts on this too, because I think it's very like unlikely that SNL would bring back a former cast member at a later age and then not have them be able to do what. I mean, it was clear to me that she was not going to do marry Katherine Gallagher because it's such a physical character. She can't like jump into like props and band gear and that stuff anymore. But for the most part, she still has it, right, Amanda?
Oh, 100%. She's and even without the physical comedy, I think that would be one person's only criticism of Molly Shannon at a certain point was that you were watching her injure herself a lot on this TV show for comedy for a while there, which is fine. It's great, but she stands alone and is very funny on her own. And so I think you can come back and do very well, but I think it's about assessing where you are in that current state of your career. It's not that we went the entire night without ever hearing about Mary Katherine Gallagher. We did, and I'm glad that we got the reference in the please don't destroy pre-tape. But people I think came in expecting that, but it's like you said, you have to think about it. It's like it's been almost 30 years. She can't do that to herself anymore. I can't do that anymore. So yeah, I think it's good on her to, be like, hey, let's we know we've been there, but let's keep going.
Yeah, Sean, in a way, it sort of reminds me of what people say about LeBron nowadays, which is like he doesn't play defense in the regular season because his body wouldn't be able to hold up if he was to do that. I think it's sort of like the same thing here, where it's like you have a great cast member who comes back. They have all the qualities of what made them great, and they could probably still be in the cast. However, at their advanced age, they wouldn't necessarily have all the tools in the bag that they did when they were, 20 something and starting up in 1995.
Right, not as hungry and not as physical. I feel you. You think that she could just make the cast straight up off talent nowadays, like with?
Yeah, I think she's one of those that absolutely would work in any era of the show. And clearly, like, for example, and I think we'll talk about this sketch. I think you in particular, Sean, we'll talk about the sketch in a little bit. But when you see it in the play, I think it's an example of clearly that she still has it. So.
And I think when you talk about her being able to exist in, any cast or any generation, I think that's because, her style of delivery and her characters were so unique. Like, to me, she doesn't scream, late 90s. There's nothing about her that screams late 90s, except that I experienced it at that time in my life. There's nothing about her comedy that, makes me think, oh, this had to be done in the mid to late 90s, but I really think that she's just a unique personality and you would see that same type of uniqueness and be attracted to her in the same way, really, with any cast, I think.
Yeah, she has no Uncle Roy character in her. So, okay, we're going to talk so much more about Molly throughout the sketches. But first, I do want to get into our cold open from this week. So we open things up and it is Trump Easter or the Last Supper. And it's a little bit of a, is it going to be about Trump? Is it not going to be about Trump? Because Mikey Day is there as Jesus, and we have all the different disciples and Judas and all that stuff. And, we get some fun, different lines until here comes Trump.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, because he comes in and starts comparing himself to Jesus and all of the stuff that's happening this week. Some really fun play back and forth between what's happening in the foreground versus the background.
Look at these guys back here, huh? They just have to sit here frozen while I talk. Can you believe that?
And of course, the classic comparisons of Trump to Jesus, which was all over the news this week. I really saw that this cold open permeated the news cycle. So I wanted to plug this line as well.
Christ was... Let's call it what it is, a Nepo baby, okay?
So some really fun writing here that we got. I actually really did enjoy this cold open. Haynes, how did it work for you?
It worked really well for me. It was one of my favorite sketches of the night. And, don't say that about the cold open very often. But one, it was pretty short and sweet. When you go back and rewatch it, it goes by pretty quick. I am a sucker for JAJ's Trump. It's like, as tired as I am of Trump, I mean, the impression's so good. I think he's leaning harder into the neck tilt than ever before. He was really like doing a lot of neck tilt with the Trump, which was very funny to me. But it was short and sweet, and it was just, the writing was great. I mean, it was that joke you just played. Christ was a Nepo baby. It's really easy to start a religion when your father is God. I mean, that's a great joke. It's just a good joke. Who drawing that connection that's just great writing. So it had some really great jokes in here. Obviously, JAJ's, Trump is amazing. And of course, it was very funny watching everyone frozen back there. And I was kind of transfixed by that even before, he started to bring it up. But very funny, trying to make Mikey break back there, and he may have been a little bit. He starts to kind of shake at one point when they're pointing back at him. It was very funny, but just full of, it was short, sweet, and packed with great jokes. I love him saying like that he's gonna go have a normal Easter and eat with his family, or hopefully not. And just dumb stuff. We love to say Ramadan. We love to say Ramadan. I don't know. But it had a very high rate of punchlines per minute, which, is my style. So to me, this was a great opening sketch. I love when they play on Trump's, when they mock his like self-victimization, which he's like so big on. So I loved it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this line at the end was great in terms of what you're saying.
Maybe if you break a big political character, you can say the big lie.
Talking about the life of New York. This was so great. Sean, did you enjoy this one? I know we've talked a lot about the Trump cold opens and the character and JAJ, being that point guard. So how do you feel about him?
I enjoyed it because I thought about you, John. You know why?
Okay.
Last time I was on this show, you said, this was after the Travis Kelce episode. You said, I don't think we're going to see another Trump for the rest of the season.
Did I know he was going to get indicted, though?
And you gave that bull caveat. You said, unless something crazy happens in the news, I don't think
which always happens with Trump.
And you gave yourself that cop out. But I feel like you owe me money, man. We didn't bet no money. But every week since that week, they've had, am I wrong? I feel like they've had a Trump in the cold open. I feel like almost every week since Travis Kelce. You the numbers guy. I don't know. Either way, you said not again. And literally, yeah, but he's killing it, man. Like Andy said, the last per minute we're hitting. It's a great way to start the show off for Molly. And I know we're going to probably talk about the monologue as well, but to get that rhythm going early so that you don't put that stress on the monologue, I think helps the host. And yeah, I think it was a great cold open. I think he did a great job. How many times has one person said live from New York, John? Quick.
Daryl Hammond, 77. So that's
77 times.
By themselves. Probably Daryl would still have the solo mark, but yeah, Daryl Hammond did do it 77. I think Kate was at 75, something like that. So JJ's on his way up there right now, but he's done a lot of solos, 17 times saying live from New York. So making his way up there in his second season for sure. Amanda, and by the way, Sean, yes, I will take I'll take my punishment. I owe you some money because I should have just kept it at Biden. I had the opportunity there and I went down both paths, but you are totally right. Amanda, I was thinking about you this week, actually, because I was saying to myself, if there's somebody who would be creatively thinking about what SNL would do with Trump this week, it would be you, considering how big of a news story this was. All of the pictures, the scene that must have been happening in New York City the day he comes in and was indicted. So for you, did this meet your expectations from what you were thinking about?
Yes, because I was happy it just wasn't a, CNN, MSNBC, news coverage opener. Like it was, I love a holiday episode and I love a theme, so it tied into the holiday and it all adds in. I thought it was a beautiful transition. And it when it kind of bamboozled me and came out of nowhere. I was like, where is this going? And also, I really need to give props to Mikey Day for the family and friends and Judas. I was with my mother, and she was raised very, very Catholic, and she let out a cackle that was so loud. I was like, it's like a low baseline joke, but it's great. I just think I thought it was great, and I think a laugh per minute. It was really, I thought it was a little longer than it had to be. It's like, okay, I get it. But I also always like when they break the fourth wall in the show. In that referencing, like they have to sit behind us and, you know, watch me do my thing. And like, it's, yeah, because it's also exactly probably what Trump would have tried to do when he hosted, but then they said, you can't do that. So it's a good old time. I liked it a lot.
And I also love the confidence from JAJ here, who clearly is able in his second season to mess around with his castmates. Like,
Just look at the fingers. Stuck doing the fingers the whole time.
yeah, and see, from what I understand, that was an ad lib. Like, there was originally written into the sketch, you know, about the fingers and stuff like that. But instead, he really like played with them to try and like delay this as much as possible, just to be frozen there. And I think that was what was fun about this. I love it when you add that live element into a sketch. So for me, this was a really positive cold open that we got this week. Overall, I think a success. So, and by the way, I just want to course correct about the statistics so nobody kills me on this. For Live for New York count, Daryl Hyman's at 75, Kate McKinnon's at 74. That's the lead there. So JJ on his way up at 17. Okay, let's talk about the sketches from the episode from Molly Night that we want to get into this week. And Haynes, kick it off for us.
Wow. Yeah. So hopefully this generates a little bit of debate. I get a feeling, and I am consuming lots of other SNL content and SNL discussion content, including the hot take show. So I know that not everyone feels the same way about this sketch, but I will tell you, I think this might have been my favorite sketch of the night. It is so up my alley. And this is the maternity leave sketch, basically the pregnancy fart. It is the stupidest concept. I absolutely love how ridiculous it is. To me, like, dick and fart jokes are the essence of comedy. Now, trust me, I love like highfalutin, intellectual, dry wit and stuff too. But when we're just getting to like the essence of making people laugh, it can come down to the stupidest things in life, including the people laughing at their own like bodily functions and stuff. I mean, it's really primitive, but this sketch completely worked for me. They did an amazing job setting up how ridiculous the situation was by like really driving home early that like her maternal instincts have been surging. Her skin is glowing. She's just full of all these maternal feelings. And then basically we just have this reveal that it's been one giant fart that she's been playing Mozart to for 8 months, which is insane to me. I don't know. She's obviously very embarrassed because this is the fourth time it's happened to Andrew Dismuke's dismay. And she's like, yelling at her boss, Keenan, like, "Are you happy now?" And he does such a great delivery, like, "No, I am not happy." But I liked the stupid dad style joke where Dismukes was said something like smells like it might have been twins. Like, this is full of really dumb humor. She she explains it's happened 4 times, and then she just jumps to this random thing trying to make people feel worse for her, going like, "Well, I was on the bus this morning and an old man, we hit a bump and an old man fell into the aisle and he died." So she's like, I don't know why they're like, she's trying to throw them off with this dumb story. And then, she's talking about she starts to get gas again from eating these catfish sliders, which I don't know why they kept calling them catfish sliders when clearly what she's eating is like a gyro or just like a giant pita pocket or something. It's definitely not a slider. I think we all agree a slider is like a mini, sandwich or tiny burger or something. So she's eating this massive pita. I don't know why the props and the cards were not on the same page there, but there's a lot going on, and I'm just laughing at her that she gains a pregnancy's worth of gas from these catfish sliders that Sarah Squirm is busting her chops over, and she's being so funny in this character, she immediately swells up with gas again, and, is going, call it a mother's intuition, that she is sure that she's pregnant. There's no need for a test. Call it a mother's intuition. And when she gets criticized by Sarah Squirm, she just turns into really mean, like, well, you're whoring around the city, how much suffering can one mother bear? And just like to me, the character is brilliant and hilarious and perfect for her. And the fact that we're like getting to laugh at farts, and a sketch that ends with her, lighting a match or a lighter that sparks a giant fart explosion that blows the building to bits. This is comedy, people. That is comedy.
Okay. I think that was a war of attrition. Just letting you. Yes,
All right.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, having to watch that sketch twice and listen to you describe it all over again was painful. But I love you, Haynes, and I'm happy for you.
When we were watching this, when I was watching this, I remember thinking to myself, like, John and I so often agree on so much. Like, I can't wait to have this discussion, where we're going to diverge
your
so
take
much.
Tonight was like one giant fart. That's how I felt about it. This was interesting. I think that the sketch itself didn't necessarily work for me. I would love to hear from the writers, Dan Bula, Gary Richardson, and Asha Ward, exactly
what do they know about comedy.
3 people.
They're great. The wonderful people who wrote some wonderful sketches. What exactly it is that they were going for here. But I have to say, Amanda, I'm not a woman, and I don't know if this was maybe like some I don't know if this was maybe something for me that not for me. That was like, is there something there? Because Victoria, as the woman on the panel on Saturday, was really defending aspects of this. So please go ahead.
And my ovaries have a lot to feel about this. First of all, this is one of the best. I never thought I would find something about a hysterical pregnancy hilarious, but alas, here we are. There's an actual term for this. It's called hysterical pregnancies. Like, it's actually women who will sometime develop, they'll basically they'll stop having periods, their bodies will basically convince themselves they're pregnant. It's called a hysterical pregnancy. And no, but also as a woman who has had gas, I have 100% felt that way. I've been like, ooh, baby, it's there is a part of
it might be a baby.
Sodium. A food baby is different, and a gas baby is very different. But it's sodium does make you bloat, baby, and you can really look like, ooh, you're carrying around something really, really cute down here. But was this my favorite thing I've ever seen on the face of the earth? No. Was I upset? I also had to watch it twice, a little, but it's only because I was just kind of like, okay, I get it, and I get it. And I was just like, who in this cast is dealing with a pregnant woman who they really don't want to be dealing with right now? Because that's what it feels like. But I enjoyed parts of it. Yay. Mm-hmm. That's my view from as a woman. I was like, it was fine. I wish it was. I mean, I got it as from a female point of view. I was like, this is very interesting and funny, but I get the point.
I mean, look. Again, I will never criticize anybody who finds something funny that I don't find funny. I actually think it's my least favorite thing that anybody does. Like when they just talk about SNL, is like, oh, this wasn't funny. I don't care. I want to know why you found it funny or why didn't you find it funny. And I think that Haynes here, you described why it works for you. So I'm okay with that and I'm comfortable with that. It just, fart jokes do work for me. I just felt like there wasn't a lot to this one. And maybe it's because I don't have that life experience of worrying about something like this. But Sean, do you?
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not a woman. But I still understand that fart. It's a fart joke, man. Andy, what's wrong with you?
That's what I'm talking about. It's a fart joke.
Listen,
I love a fart joke. I'm on Andy's side on fart jokes here.
Look,
I like fart jokes too. It's just that it's this one.
The fart wasn't even wet. It wasn't. You know how many fart? It wasn't it was a regular long fart. Like you said, it sounded no levels to it. The first ever written joke. This is nothing I had to look up. I listened to a podcast from Keegan-Michael Key and in ancient Samaria, 1900 years ago. The first ever written joke, and in fact, I researched. See, just for you, John. Something, and this is the first ever joke written ever. Ancient Samaria.
This was the extra work you said you did for this podcast?
I did.
I've heard this fact.
I researched
I know what you're about to share, Sean. I'm familiar with this fact as well.
This is it's a fart joke. Something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. That is the first ever written joke in the history of jokes, and that is better. That's a better joke than.
Well, I think the joke is that she did fart in his lap.
No, she did. It did not. That was a.
Who wrote that?
They didn't
joke?
Understand. Some ancient Sumerian. He wrote it on a wall. Whatever. The dude's not funny. He shouldn't. But anyway, he was very funny for his time. He was way ahead of his time. Apparently.
Honestly, I feel like that joke was told, and then the writers of this sketch were like,
Sound familiar?
and they came in and did it.
Yes, I think that's what it was. It was like, oh, I want different types of farts. I don't just want a pregnancy fart. I want all the different types of lady farts. Because there are different types of lady farts. That's the joke.
I know what's happening.
That's a joke. It wasn't.
You know what
joke.
happens?
But what the thing with this was that from the very get-go, like there's no possible way. Like it's so ridiculous. There's no possible way this woman could really believe that she's pregnant from like a bloated gas, and then she continues to go on this, like she's clearly delusional, and people are trying to like get her to grapple with reality, and she's just so far up in the clouds, so desperate to like have this baby that she's willing to believe anything. She's doing these mental gymnastics, lying to herself and others to try and cultivate this progeny, apparently. So I think the jokes are in them trying to there's no way you can't really be continuing this, right? You're doing a bit, right, lady? Like you don't really believe this, and she just continues to double down and double down. I think the persistence and the escalation with that is supposed to be where the humor is. I found it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that explains it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, no. Here's what happens. You watch a lot of this show, right? This is what happens to people that watch a lot of anything, right?
Okay.
You start to get crazy. Like I hear people like break down some old Richard Pryor jokes, and it's just a whatever, a fart joke. I don't know if I can say the D word, but whatever, a dick joke, whatever. Okay, good. It's a dick joke. But then when you hear people break it down posthumously, right? Because he's a genius. He said some genius things. But they're like, this is about the society and the esoteric. Man, that's what it is. It's a fart joke. It was lazy. The lady it didn't explain why she thinks she's crazy enough. Why did her stomach, whatever, man. It wasn't absurd enough to believe the world where her stomach also gets big and as she eats and I'm surprised you noticed the catfish slider and all of that. You're like, that's what you focus. You noticed that it wasn't a slider?
I noticed it too. It made me mad. I was
let the record
like
show. It was clearly a pita. Let the record show the argument against this sketch is that Richard Pryor wrote lazy jokes. That's what I'm hearing. Sean thinks that Richard Pryor was lazy.
He wrote a lot of jokes. He wrote a lot of jokes. We see a lot of sketches on SNL. God bless them. They're not all going to be winners. And you're over geniusifying. If you
didn't like this sketch, you hate Richard Pryor. Is what I'm hearing.
Oh, I love it. I love you. Trapped me. All right, it was good. Fine. Bye.
Okay. All right. Yeah. let's do 3 more of these. That's what we're.
3 people wrote that sketch.
Yes.
It feels like they were having an argument during the writing process.
3 people wrote that sketch.
Somebody all right, you cover the fart part. I'm gonna cover whoever wrote the bus part wrote the sketch. Whoever wrote that, the guy died on the bus. That was great.
Yeah.
Because there was almost nowhere to go after that, after she farted. But
I think we did a lot on this. I think we gave it its due. And Haynes, are you satisfied?
Gave it its due.
Yeah.
Did you want content? Did you want discussion? Was I able to bring you that today?
Hey, that's why you're here. So thank you for all of that. All right, let's keep going. Let's go over to Sean, who will save us.
Yeah, it was. It's the play, man. The play. That's the best sketch of the night. I really enjoyed it. It was it had the escalation was involved and the button was absurd. I'm not gonna retell the entire sketch because I don't need to, Andy. All I'm gonna say is that it had great escalation. It was introduced properly, and the way the absurdity that was foreshadowed in the beginning of the sketch that became the button. That's good writing. That's good Seinfeldian circular writing. Okay,
Our good friend Nick called that foreshadowing the.
You were to say fart shadowing.
Fart shadowing. What are you doing to this show, Andy?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I was saying one of our great listeners, Nick, called it Chekhov's Longfellow. And I thought that was very funny.
Very nice. Yes, exactly right, man. And I believe that it gave Molly an opportunity to be the forefront of a sketch. A lot of Keenan was carrying some of that other stuff, making it a little more watchable with the valet sketch, in my opinion. But Molly got to carry this. She was the funniest part of the sketch with her performance, portraying the playwright's life. But then you see one of my favorite parts was Keenan making fun of Devin, because Devin was doing his regular voice, I think. And Keaton did like a Steve Urkel, like
here. Can I play that, Sean? I just want to play it for the listeners in case they forgot that part, because that was so good.
That was my note. The low brass when he comes in.
Ryan, would you like to go out?
So funny. Sean, go ahead. Anything else?
No, yeah, I just love that seemed to have that playfulness between the cast, between Keenan and Devin, which I don't really get an opportunity. I haven't seen much of their relationship, so that gave like some type of, maybe, I don't know if they have one, but yeah, it was fun. And the button was pleasantly absurd, I thought. So yeah, man, that's good writing to me, but no fart, so maybe Andy doesn't feel it.
Yeah, well, before we get his thoughts, let me just say, this sketch definitely won the Jon Schneider Award for best sketch on a rewatch, because I think that live you don't necessarily grasp everything, but I think that when you really dive into it, there's a lot of different directions it goes. I love the callbacks. It's really like it's artful in the way that they do things from start to finish, filled with like literally it was jam-packed with everything you could possibly put in a sketch. It has the musical guest in a cameo in this sketch as well. It has the great placing different archetypes of cast members playing off of each other. It's clearly filmed on stages that are not facing each other directly, right? Because that's impossible to do in the studio. So what you'd have is you have the stage built and then you have the audience, stuff like that, unless they did it on home base, which I'm not sure if anybody got to see if they did that off of a commercial or not. But either way, I think that the writing on this was really, really strong, and I really was able to just dive into this one. So I loved it. Amanda, what did you think?
As a person with a degree in playwriting, this sketch felt like it was built for me. Like it was in every, like, I mean, not to bring up Succession because I'm so traumatized, but I love that show because it is written by somebody who clearly loves the story structure. And this was just a masterclass in sketch structure. And I think that's why I loved it so much. Even when I watched it the first time, I was like the ending, the twist and everything. I was like, that was great. That was perfect. And then rewatching it today, I was like, oh, there's so many beautiful moments and notes that Jon just all touched on, which I'm not going to repeat because basically I agree with all of that. My main point is also just like, it's nice to see Molly as the object of desire. Like it's that nobody made a comment of the fact that she's 20 years older than Heidi Gardner. That's not true, 15. But like and they don't look like similarly whatsoever, but they said let this woman be sexually desired by Nick Jonas and make us believe that that's a thing that would happen, and 100% it would. Gang. So I thought this was perfect, and I'm mad that Sean picked it before I got a chance to, because I wanted to dissect it. And I think I think this is just a heavy, every episode for the past few weeks has had one that really stuck out. It's just like, that was it, and far and away, like, inspired me as a writer level, writing and sketch comedy, and that this was it. And also I have to say, I was in college and 100% a girl did this sketch.
Dated 1,000 men?
No, not Dated 1,000 Men, but basically wrote a one woman play about her real life, and her boyfriend was in the audience and learned a whole bunch of stuff that he did not know.
Oh,
it was iconic. I miss undergrad.
Oh, so it sounds great. Haynes, I think what's interesting about this sketch that really pointed out something to me is like, I think, Cecily Strong was on the show for so many years. We got to cover 2.5 seasons of Cecily's run on the show here on the podcast. And I think there was certainly a fair amount of complaints when you would watch an episode and Cecily would be sometimes hamming it up in a theater style sketch. And I think we were like, okay, Cecily's so talented. We're glad that she can do this, but we'd like to see more of a range from the type of stuff she can produce on the show. And what was funny is that it has been, I guess now 7 episodes since Cecily has appeared, or 8 episodes since she's been on the show. And it was the first time that I said to myself, watching Molly Shannon here, I was like, wow, I miss Cecily, because I think that getting something like this, which only cast members like Molly Shannon and Cecily can do so well playing off of everybody, made me feel that there was Cecily elements that have been missing from the show. So I actually did find this to be a very big positive thing for what something new that I noticed from this cast.
It definitely did feel like something that would be right up Cecily's alley. I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. Especially all that Amanda had to say. I loved the sketch. Listen, to me, it was just as good as the fart. I'm not kidding though. I thought the play, the cold open, and the maternity leave were like my favorite sketches of the night. Listen, the play was masterful, and I did not, didn't know that we'd see Longfellow again. I did. I did hear some foreshadowing when he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were married." Like, I kind of thought at that moment, like, "Oh yeah, I think you're about to learn a lot of things tonight." Probably a lot of us thought that.
It was beautifully crafted, and just like these little seeds that just came
it really
back.
Was.
It was wild.
Totally agree. It was masterful. It took a ton of choreography. It was, just top to bottom, the whole production was amazing. It was just a really great production. And it was full of good jokes. That low brass, that dumpy low brass that comes in when Keenan starts, as Devin's character, or Devin's character's character, as when Keenan comes in as Brian, I guess. Just really funny. Obviously ending up, with the kicker at the end that she's making out with Longfellow was amazing. But there were just some good jokes in there, and they come pretty hard and quick. Year of 1,000 Men jumps right into it pretty boldly, pretty quickly. And people are like Bowen's like, and I don't want to use a condom. Fine by me. She's like, just like super excited about it, and really playing off, a lot of off the character Brian's insecurities. I don't know which Jonas brother that was, but Nick. That okay.
He did host the show in 46, by the way.
That's the one that I know. I was gonna say Nick, yeah. And I do, yeah, of course I know that. But that he hosted the show, but I can't. They're all the same to me. I'm not into the Disney boy bands thing. I didn't grow up with that stuff. It was on TV. I didn't watch it, but I loved the joke that he had, that he has a disease that once we have sex, all your future orgasms will be because of me. That's a pretty funny joke. So listen, top to bottom, I thought this sketch was awesome. Absolutely loved it. Agree with everything. Can't wait to hear how little sense Sean's argument makes. But go ahead.
Yeah,
you agree with me. I don't have to argue for it. You like my sketch.
Yeah, you're right. I do. You're right.
Yeah. By the way, just checking the previous SNL stats days into our statistics, and Andrew Haynes was on the Hot Take show the night of Nick Jonas's episode. So
so I know he hosted.
Yeah, exactly. So
you didn't know who he was.
No, I can't tell them apart. I can't.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's what they all say. That's what they all say.
I don't know who's Kelvin and who's
who was the bonus Jonas?
Neil and Norm. I don't know.
Joseph and Nicholas. They are 3 brothers, and then there's a bonus one. Yeah. A bonus Jonas.
A bonus Jonas.
Yeah. Amanda, over to you for the sketch that you want to talk about.
Yes, I'm very excited. A weekend update. We're going to talk about. I love to hate Disney content and Disney people. I find that culture fascinating to me. I just don't get it. I wish I could understand it, but please, somebody, if you could just explain to me what it is. I love it. So I love that Bow and Yang is kind of a Disney gay. And this Jafar weekend update and talking about Disney and the Ron DeSantis like battle that's been going on in Florida, I thought was perfect and hilarious, and just a great commentary about just the fact that we're dealing with a fascist, like, who's also an idiot, and who like genuinely, it's like, you got married at Disney World, like how you love this place as much as the rest of us. I thought that this was perfect. We haven't seen Bowen a lot in the Weekend Update chair this season, I don't believe. John, you can fact check me on that, but I feel like this was a nice little
We saw him
chance
as
to stick
Krampus,
in.
actually.
Krampus, yeah. Was that the last time?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so which was Christmas. So
Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's been since the new year basically. So I thought it was good, and I also just want to know what changes they had to make to that costume in order to get it cleared by Disney. Because I'm always wondering, because they have to.
Oh yeah, thanks to Blood in the chat. He did George Santos actually also.
Oh yes, duh. Thank you.
Yeah, but great points. I mean, I actually did think this was really well done. A lot of great quality, a lot of, spunk that I felt that Bowen brought to this, especially near the end. And I think it really felt like a monologue that he was delivering flawlessly throughout this, and made some really poignant points here. So credit to Alex English, Will Steven, and Bowen Yang for putting that together. Haynes, did you like what you saw from Bowen on Update?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Big fan of this character. I thought it was well acted, as with all of Bowen's leading parts. He just seems to never let us down. I love the whole tone and tenor. The gay bitchiness was a side, like a perfect side of Jafar that we never realized we all needed and kind of secretly knew all along. Like, it just made so much sense. It was a great connection to draw. The jokes were good. I just thought it was really funny. And it is very funny to me that apparently Ron DeSantis got married at Disney World. That is funny, and that is hilarious. I loved the kicker at the end. Where they always say, when the character's coming off and they always like have their little tag at the end. I love the way he was like, the wedding was at the Grand Floridian and it was beautiful. It was amazing wedding. It was a gorgeous wedding or something. I just love I thought it was well-rounded. And like you said, it sounded like a perfectly delivered monologue. Like, it looked like, I guess when you're not, interacting much with another person, you wouldn't, that's a moment where you could actually not read the cards. And if they've been changed, that's okay, because you could just complete, the thought that, you've recited or rehearsed to recite. So, to me, it was incredibly smooth and just a really funny character. I don't know if we'll, ever really need to have him back again. Not that I wouldn't want to, but it does seem like very specific to this one moment in time. But who knows? Maybe the Ron DeSantis Disney struggle will go on for years, and this will be our regular cold open. Jafar will replace Trump, and we'll have 5 years of Jafars. Who knows?
Yeah,
I
or
liked it a lot.
Maybe he'll come back as a character named Jafart, and then he'll have a whole sketch about thinking he's pregnant. So it's like, you never know.
Listen, I'm
about to leave. I'm about to leave this podcast. I'm about to walk out and go eat my pickles. No, man.
Sean, what did you think? Did you like this?
Oh shit, that was a good fart joke. Oh man, sorry.
No, it wasn't.
You finally got one.
That one got me.
That was a bad
You see how you do it? You see how
Bad
you do
fart
it?
joke.
You gotta slide it in there, man. You gotta slide it
like
Sliders.
a fart, like the opposite of a fart.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was good. I ain't gonna lie. I was really trying to focus on what Andy said, because I wasn't ready to talk about it, because I didn't know that we could talk about. I watched it. I really liked his impression, but I thought we were going to be. Every time I've done the show, we talk about the sketches. But it was great. I thought it was. I guess it's still a sketch. I don't know. Whatever. It was great. I thought that. Didn't he make a point about there being other gay supervillains or something like that, or was that a part of the riff that he was making? Who were the other ones he said? I wasn't trying. I didn't rewatch it because I didn't. I was trying to win. And I think I just got beat by Amanda because I couldn't. I didn't. It was good. That's all I could kind of say. I didn't know you could do a Jafar. He had a very deep register, like Andy was saying. And the button was fine, man. But man, that was good. Jafar. Wow, that would have made it way better. If he farted.
Certainly.
That would have been good. I'm sorry, Andy. Andy is so attacked today. I'm sorry, man. Look,
okay.
I love it, man.
It's funny that you put it that way. I don't feel attacked.
No, this is what the podcasting game is all about. It's going back and forth like this. So, okay, I want to talk
being a lesbian. Oh, I see that. Oh, I see it in the chat there. Yeah, Ursula. And I wait a minute, Demi. You said you lived in Florida for 5 years and it was awful. I grew up in Florida for 18 years and I'm awful. That's why I'm doing this to Andy tonight. So yeah, take that, Demi. We are Florida.
Everything is becoming so much clearer with you, Sean.
I actually used to live in Orlando too, Sean. I lived in Orlando. Yeah.
Hey,
God.
I have only been to Florida twice.
Oh, that makes you a good person, man. You're the best person on this panel. Hold on, let me
and I fly down there at Christmas sometimes. Okay, let's get into the sketch that I would like to talk about tonight, and that would be this one.
And I like to kick and kick.
Yeah, Sally O'Malley is back for the 7th time on the show. And here comes Molly as Sally, coming in to be the new choreographer for the Jonas Brothers. And as far as sketches are concerned, was this the play? Definitely not. I mean, there was no brilliant, runway to go down here, but it was all Molly getting to do her Molly thing here. And I think that, a lot of people on Saturday said the show felt a little bit more fun than funny. I think this was the most fun thing that we had the entire night. I think this really felt like a little bit of a party where you got to see some cast members just laugh at the willingness for Molly to go as far as she did with pulling up her pants and getting to see everything that was going on down there.
The Grand Canyon's got nothing on me.
As we got to see all of Molly. So for me, I thought this was really fun. Obviously, we get lines from Chloe and Bowen reacting in the background.
I've engineered my entire life so I would never have to see what I just saw.
And the return of the Jonas Brothers in this sketch. I do sort of wish that this was the only sketch appearance from the Jonas Brothers, because I didn't necessarily feel like the play needed Nick Jonas in it for it to work. But I think that this was fun here. Obviously, the crew had a lot of fun getting the Jonas Brothers into their gear for this one. And I just think, this was a great way to do it. There was a lot of debate online of if Sally O'Malley should have stayed 50 years old. I'm okay with it. That's where I settled on it. I think I'm okay with the character staying 50 forever, because that's the fun of it. And even if Molly Shannon was to come back in her 70s or her 80s and SNL was still around, I'd still want her to do this character, because I think it is just quintessential Molly Shannon. So, Sean, did you like what you saw here?
Yeah, I really like that point you made about being fun and not necessarily as funny, but yeah, I think it was a great post update sketch. I think it was a great way to close it out, and yeah, man, it was just a good rundown euphoria lane or whatever. Like, people can enjoy that. I think that's what happens with these old cast members. You can go down memory lane and enjoy some of the retro stuff, and yeah, it was fun enough. It was cool with the button of the sexy guys, and one of them, the way that the button worked itself out where she replaced them. Yeah, it was great, man. I wasn't thrilled, but yeah, it was I get it, like, because I didn't know Molly Shannon before the show, so it was one of those where I was like, similar to Jeannie Darcy, where I'm like, okay, if I would have had more history with this character, perhaps it would have been more fun for me. But I enjoyed it as it was, and I can appreciate how much other people might enjoy it.
Yeah. And I will say, I know that this doesn't necessarily work in our community always, because we've seen every single instance of this, and probably
our community. Oh, I'm sorry.
Our community of SNL diehard fans. But I do love that there's still something that gives me chills, whether it's in a sitcom or on SNL, of the whole somebody special is hiding behind the door and they're going to come in and then they get the huge applause. Like, I love that for me. So when, we get to see Sally O'Malley come in and it's like, okay, this character that you recognize, I think that's so much fun. Amanda, was this fun for you?
Yes. It was so fun. I love Sally O'Malley. I was so happy to see her. And yes, I'm happy that she stays 50. And I hope that when Molly comes back in 25 years that she's still 50. And like, I just like that it was just so nice to see her. And I personally wish she'd been pushed up a little bit earlier in the post update hour, but half hour, whatever. But I really, it was just nice because I forgot. And also that camel toe must have hurt so much.
Does that hurt?
Doesn't that hurt?
Yeah, I don't know. I would never experienced it. So like
Yeah,
it hurts
no,
to do that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it's slicey. It's slicey. It's spandex and slicey. So it's just a character I always felt was good to see back. I mean, as much as like it I mean, I was also so happy to see Jeannie Darcy, who like I always thought was the epitome of. I think makes more sense now in the post anti-comedy Eric Andre, Tim and Eric era. Like people I think get Jeannie Darcy a little bit more now, but it was just great. And it was just, the Jonas Brothers having fun. Yeah, I liked it. I was happy to see it, even though by the end of this, I was like, okay, we're having fun. I'm a little tired of fun. Let's go to bed. Yeah.
Okay. Haynes, what about you for you? I know you've seen every instance of Sally O'Malley. So how do you enjoy this?
Love Sally O'Malley. Was so glad to see her back. I don't always love it when, we pull in like the band, the musical guest for just like a cheesy little bit in a segment. But that didn't bother me because I was having so much fun with this. I mean, the sketch peaked way before that. Listen, it starts out. One note that I thought was funny, just even before we really get to the good stuff. Yes, I feel like a male dance choreographer would call himself Turbo. That is hilarious to me, and it sounded accurate. But when Sally O'Malley starts going, like really digging into the camel toe thing, it was. I mean, it's clear that Chloe was not expecting it to go as far as it did. I mean, her mouth gapes at one point and it is non-performative. Like it's clear that she is like in shock and then like trying not to laugh at me like, oh my God. And she just keeps going and going and she really lays into it. And I love that so much. I love it so much when a comedian is willing to just like really dig in and screw with the other cast members like that. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. So, listen, even though that might have been when the sketch peaked, it did so much to lift us up and get us laughing and having fun. Like it carried us through the rest of the sketch, which I normally would not have had as much fun with, probably with the Jonas Brothers coming out and stuff. But just all that, my endorphins were just rushing, after that, those extreme moments. So I was, that laughter just carried through the whole sketch. And I mean, she was amazing. So of course we had to talk about Sally O'Malley.
My only complaint is I wish this kicked off the night. I think this would have been great vibes to start things off. I think it would have really built into the energy of the show. So for me, it was the spot that this played out that was my only problem with it. But overall, I'm really happy that we got to see it. So Sean, I want to ask you, is there anything else from this episode that you just want to bring up for us to talk about quickly? Because you're going to be leaving us a little bit early tonight. So I just want to give you your chance in case there was anything else that you really enjoyed from the show that you wanted to bring up.
You know what? I'll be honest, man. I didn't enjoy it when I was just watching it. But as I listened to you guys talk about it, bring your perspective as far as the history of her and really break down the sketches, it actually became more fun as I was thinking back on it. I'm like, okay, I watched it twice. I watched each sketch twice, and I was like really picking it apart and comparing it to other parts of this season. But when you said fun versus funny, there's a place for that, and I think that's what makes SNL special. And I do have to leave, Andy. I'm sorry. I criticized your fart, love. And I will make it up to you next time I do the show with you.
I love the back and forth that Sean and I have when we're on together. I really do. I think it's very fun.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right. Well, Sean has a show tonight, so we're going to let him go perform. Hope you have a great show, Sean. And
bye, Sean.
We'll see you back on the podcast in May. So catch you soon. Okay.
See you soon, babes. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Let's keep going, though, friends, and let's talk about anything else from the episode that we really want to make sure that we cover tonight. So, Amanda, do you have any moments from the night that you would like us to talk about that we haven't gotten to yet?
No, that's a very good question. Not necessarily. I loved the Heidi Gardner Weekend Update character, the woman who's busy at her job, seemingly doing nothing. I loved that. I think, I think overall this episode was fun, not funny. It was, which I enjoyed. It was a nice little palate cleanser considering I watched it after I watched Succession yesterday. So I needed it, definitely.
Yeah. Crazy episode of television also. But Haynes, let me ask you, what about you? Anything else from the episode that you would like us to talk about tonight?
Yeah, the Heidi character, I wanted to talk about. I have not yet watched last night's Succession, so I'm going to do that in a few minutes. Don't tell me. But I really liked Heidi's character a lot, and she is like just such a master of the Weekend Update desk. You know, she just has so many characters that are all so great. And this one in particular, I thought was just kind of like next level masterful. I mean, her acting, what she put into it was just, it's like she, you know, you had this slow build. She seems to get busier and busier as the sketch goes on, and she starts to she's almost kind of losing control. And she's, you know, by the end, it's like she can't stop touching things, and her eyes are rolling around, and her head's going crazy. It was really, you know, she really works herself into a whirlwind. And then it was full of just all these really kind of goofy, like, you know, commonly used like classic office jargon. And I think we all know, you know, someone, or probably really like many different people whose individual actions together would make up, you know, a character like this.
I think I was that person for a little bit, by the way.
Really?
I've been that person. Yeah, I've been that person who was like trying to just like make it seem like I'm very busy.
Listen, I mean, I've feigned busyness at work, but I don't think it was quite like that character. But I loved it. I thought, it was really funny. Yeah, when she's pulling out the papers, and it's just like a sign-up sheet for bringing birthday cake or something. And she just keeps saying, of course, like, I'm screwed, you know, and talking about working in the weeds and just all this like cheesy like office jargon. But listen, you could have grabbed those phrases and used them in a less successful way. She really punched this character home. So I wanted to talk about it too.
Yeah, it was very solid.
Yes. I also have one more point to make about the fart. Sorry. Just every time, just props to the SNL technical team. Just every time, just every single time. Like this season, especially, they have been just knocking it out of the park. And I always feel the need to give them their due to make that thing go up. I don't know how they did it. I'm sure there was some contraption in that giant dress.
Yeah, I think it's like a Louis post. Yeah, I think Louis Zakarian posted online. It was something like an inflatable bladder. Like that's what they do with that. So
I love this. I love it.
Yeah, it was good. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about tonight, and this was a sketch I was sort of debating between discussing, was the valet sketch, which I really felt like was really solid, and I'm surprised that nobody else wanted to talk about it. I love Andrew Dismukes. Everybody knows how I feel about him, and he was in a lot tonight, or on Saturday night, so 7 sketches that he appeared in, and this was in an unusual spot for Andrew Dismukes to pop up right at the beginning of the night, where he was guiding things off, discussing the
Lil Joke, Lil Bow, Lil Jog.
And his little jog was unbelievable, where he was jogging over. And I thought this was really, really funny for me. And I would say probably one of my favorite Kenan Thompson sketches in a long time, where he played as diminutive as possible and as aggressive as possible in this sketch.
You ever come here before?
What? I'm sorry. I can't really hear what you
And then that ultimately culminates with this great moment with Devin.
I'm gonna steal your car, you black bitch!
where Devin just breaks as well. Like, this was so stupid and so exactly what I want every single week at the end of the night. I have no idea why it was put up top, but it must have played like super well in the studio. I know for me, like, this was like my junk food. So I'm surprised that they put this up top. Haynes, did you enjoy this one, the valet one?
I did enjoy this one. It didn't land with me as hard as some other sketches did. I think it was well set up. It was a good vehicle. I mean, you could kind of tell from the beginning when, you know, he's laying out that there's 3 rules. Obviously, these rules are going to get broken at some point, probably by all of them over and over again. But for some reason, I don't know what was going on, but it seemed like there was kind of like several lines where I just thought there was a little too much of a pause before the line was delivered or something. I'm not blaming Wally or the actors. I don't know what was going on, but it just seemed like there was a few parts that it's kind of, I think, Jon, that you have a great sketch here that maybe at dress rehearsal, they were locked and everything hit. And here, this is just one of those moments where something just got a little off. And I just felt like multiple lines were delivered just a half second too late or something. And it was stifling my ability to like get caught in the moment and laugh. But there were plenty of good jokes. And I mean, I really liked JAJ's, you know, first attempt at a joke. When he starts talking about the customer's penis and stuff, and like, you know, and she's all, "Is it in yet?" And you're all, "I'm doing my best, Captain," or something like that. It was very stupid and funny. But yeah, I feel like it was like, I bet on paper, you know, it looked like it was going to be more golden than the version that we got, and it probably wasn't dressed too. But
I think this played amazingly at the table. I bet. I'm sure they had a field day with it. Amanda, did you like this one, the valet one?
I completely forgot it happened until you mentioned it, and I cannot believe it's the top of the night.
You didn't like it?
Oh, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just, to me, in my brain, I literally scrambled it to post update. Like, I genuinely think my brain just put it there when you were like, I was like, what do you mean the first sketch of the night? That was not this, like, it was, but I'm over here being delusional as always. But I mean, I liked it. I thought it was funny. I also that's one of these little idiosyncrasies you see in human behavior from most valets, and now we will never not see that behavior from all of them ever again. I think it went well at the table read. It went well in dress, but they still expected it to get cut for time. And that's why the timing got messed up. Cause I still think it was going to be one of these like, oh, we'll hold it for like a few weeks from now. It's still really good. We like it, but they expected it to get cut for time. So, cause it felt so little under rehearsed, even though they did it in dress and all of that stuff. Or maybe it was also playing for a different part in the episode. They weren't prepared, whatever. But it felt just, yeah, like Andrew said, like there was just a little bit of like a half second where I was like, am I on an East Coast delay or what's happening? So yeah.
Okay, well, look, like I said, pretty fun episode. So happy to have Molly back here. We did have some polls that we put up on social media this week to have some fun questions for you to answer and get involved with the show. So the first one that we asked was, which is your favorite recurring character from Molly Shannon that was brought back this week? So we did have 3 options on the board, actually. We had Jeannie Darcy. We talked about very briefly that Netflix pre-tape that was put together for Jeannie. We had the Sally O'Malley sketch where we got to see that character return. And then we had elements of Mary Katherine Gallagher, like the superstar in the monologue, and of course in the 2K23 sketch from PDD. So we said, what is your favorite Molly character of all time? Is it one of these 3 or other? So Haynes, what's your pick for this?
Well, I did mention that joyologist Helen Madden is perhaps my favorite, but I would go with Sally O'Malley. Of those 3. I mean, that was a character that Jeannie Darcy, that one wasn't one that stuck with me at that age when I was first watching SNL. Certainly the others were, and Mary Katherine Gallagher was extremely popular. But so was Sally O'Malley. Sally O'Malley was plenty popular back then. I would vote Sally O'Malley.
Amanda?
I'm gonna go with Dog Show. TBH.
Okay. So you would have picked other.
Other.
Okay, well, let's see how the audience voted on this one. So they said, no, wrong one. No, that's the right one. Okay, favorite. So they said favorite Molly Shannon character of all time. Number 1 is Mary Katherine Gallagher here with 54%. Sally O'Malley comes in next at 28%. Jeannie Darcy in third with 12%, and then other with 6%. We got a lot of the others were Terry Rialto, the NPR woman from the Delicious Dish sketches.
This does not surprise me though, because I've always felt like Mary Katherine Gallagher was clearly her most well-loved, character.
Yeah, I think in the character countdown that we did over the summer, it was one of the greatest characters of all time as voted by the fans. So I think this totally makes sense as the fan favorite. I would say that Mary Katherine Gallagher is probably my favorite out of these. There's elements of Mary Katherine Gallagher that I don't always love, like some of the monologues that the character goes on, but there's others that I think are really great. And I love physical comedy, and I think that Molly Shannon back in her day did it so fantastically. So great one there. All right, the next poll that we asked, and this was a really fun question, I thought, which was, Molly Shannon hosted one time, comes back for the second time. So we said, which one-time host from the former cast members who only hosted once would you like to see come back and host for a second time? So I'll read out the options to Haynes and to Amanda. And if you're listening to the podcast, you can think about it. So former cast member that's only hosted once, which one do you want to see come back to host a second time? Options are Fred Armisen, Dan Aykroyd, Robert Downey Jr., Will Forte, John Lovitz, Michael McKean, Seth Meyers, Mike Myers, Andy Samberg, Adam Sandler, Paul Schaefer, Sarah Silverman, Jason Sudeikis, or Damon Wayans. Haynes, what do you think?
Wow. I think it'd be a pretty close tie between Armisen and Forte for me. Do I have to pick one? Can I just say both? Armisen and Forte but yeah, I'll say Armisen. It's such a tie. I can't pick. I love them both so much, and I think they would be both just be so amazing. Like Dan Aykroyd, is such he towers. He's such a towering figure. But I'm not sure, at this age, well, I'm not being ageist or saying he's like too old to host the show or anything, but I'm not sure how connected he still is to the comedy world and stuff. I feel like Fred Armisen and Will Forte still probably have their finger right on the pulse. And both just so funny. Those would be my votes.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd is, yelling at the screen at you, Haynes. He's
50
like,
years
I know.
old. 50.
He's 50. But yeah, that would be fun to get Dan back on the show, of course. I can't believe he's only hosted once, though he pseudo-hosted a few times with John Goodman. Amanda, do you have a pick for this?
That list baffled me. Like, genuinely baffled. Like, Adam Sandler's only come back to host one time since leaving. That to me is, it's going to be my pick.
It was a big deal.
Out of just basic, like, blatant, that's very, very obvious to me, but maybe I'm, that's
well, I heard he was fired.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
But I would love to see Will Forte come back. I would love to see, I'd love to see Michael McKean come back, because I always love to see Michael McKean in anything. So I think in one of the most underrated, talented actors of our generation, who doesn't get his credit, period. And I did not watch Better Call Saul either. I just say that with my full chest. I know it with my chest. I love that man.
And he's the only one on this list that has hosted before he was a cast member. So
that's amazing. I love him.
Yeah.
He can rejoin the cast. He's my pick for if they want to bring back an old cast member to come back, and he can join. Michael McKean. He's my pick.
Personally, I would say either Andy Samberg or Will Forte. I think Andy Samberg had a really fun first episode hosting. Will Forte did not. I'm sure he had a great time, but the episode was like just it was like odd. And I want people to like come back and remember Will Forte's hosted episode as being extremely great. I think he obviously has it in him. So that would be my pick. But there's so many good ones here, like Amanda said. So just a great amount of choices. But here are the results from the audience. And thanks for everybody who voted on Twitter and on Instagram. Which former SNL cast member who has hosted once should return next? Number 1. one was Andy Samberg at 27%. People really loved Andy. He has a new show out now. I think it's Digman, I believe, an animated show. So check that one out if you haven't. Then Adam Sandler, 15%. We talked about him. Fred Armisen had one of the greatest hosting experiences of any former cast member ever. Go back and watch that show. Just an all-time classic, 13%. Sudeikis, to me, same thing. Probably the best episode in season 47. Seth Meyers also at 10% here, which is an interesting pick because I think Seth's hosting was okay. He was an amazing Weekend Update anchor. Maybe not the best cast member as in sketches, but people love Seth. So got a lot of Seth votes this week. And for what it's worth, Forte was 6th there on the list. Okay. Let's talk MVP for the Molly Shannon and Jonas Brothers week. So you can pick the musical guest, the host, any cast member, or any cameo in your MVP voting. We had Molly Shannon, who appeared in 9 sketches, appearances by Nick Jonas in 2 sketches, Joe Jonas and Kevin Jonas also in another sketch. There were some cameos in the musical guest. Martin Short appeared in the monologue. We didn't even talk about that. Molly's daughter actually did the voiceover playing her daughter in the PDD pre-tape. So that was a fun little nugget from this episode. Keenan Bowen and Dismukes all at 7 sketches dominated the night. Pretty much a low night for Mikey, but he's obviously had an incredible 2023. So every now and then it makes sense to give some room to the other cast members. But Haynes, I'd like to ask you who are your top 3 for MVP this week?
Top 3. Well, I think Molly Shannon is the MVP, but I thought it was a great week from, obviously Dismukes was just in a lot this week, so he deserves to get some credit for that. But I thought Bowen was really great too. Maybe those would be my top 3.
Okay. So Molly, Bowen, and Dismukes. Amanda, who are your picks?
I agree. I think I would put JPJ. JAJ. Why did I say JPJ? Oh my god, it's because I'm going to a thing on Thursday. Sorry. I would put JAJ in the Disney's place there. But those are my top 3 for sure.
Okay. Well, very, very good picks from the panel here tonight. And here is your voting, your top 5 for week number 17 on the show. Molly Shannon in first place, 38%. Host dominates the night, former cast member, as you would expect. Andrew Dismukes comes in second place, 14%. People seem to love what they got from Andrew all over the place and had that sketch right at the top of the night. James Austin Johnson in third place, 9% here, actually tied with Bowen Yang tied for third place there. So Bowen was great on Update as Jafar, we talked about, JAJ as Trump as well. And then lots of votes for the Jonas Brothers at 5% here at number 5, where people were happy to get any of the Jonases some MVP votes. So those are your MVPs for week number 17. All right, let's turn our attention to week number 18 coming up here with host Ana de Armas, who's coming in, a Cuban and Spanish actress, very well known for her role in No Time to Die in last year, and Blonde this year, the Marilyn Monroe biopic. So she got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress, becoming the first Cuban woman to ever be nominated. She is really Hollywood's, hot thing right now, and we're very excited to have her come and host the show. Amanda, I'd love to start with you on this one. Any expectations for Anna coming in to host next week?
Not a single one in the entire world. I hope that they make a reference to her blocking Ana de Armas updates on Twitter during COVID. That's the only expectation I have.
Can you explain that just for anybody who doesn't?
Okay. So she had a fan cam update account that would follow her on Twitter, and every day during COVID, they kind of trolled her because they'd be like, Ana de Armas went on a walk with boyfriend Ben Affleck, and it'd be with a cup of Dunkin' Donuts. It was a recurring thing. And then one day, mid COVID, it must have been May 2020. It was Ana de Armas is blocked at Ana de Armas updates, and the entire internet exploded because they were like, how dare she? This is a fan account. It was love, and that was the update for the day. So I'm hoping that we get a reference to that because I think that's really funny. But that's mostly what I think she's known for in terms of non-movie things. I did enjoy her in Knives Out, but she wasn't the comedic part of that movie. That was mostly my Queen and King, Toni Collette, and Michael Shannon, who also should host SNL. But we'll see. She seems like a little action girly, so we'll see what her chops are in this. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there is zero expectations going into this week as far as what we might get from her on the show, but people seem to be excited about her, that she has a lot of fans, certainly. So, Haynes, what do you think?
Well, I have no idea what to expect because I don't know what kind of crazy stuff will happen in the news and what in just general SNL will have to tackle. But and also I think it's good not to have expectations. I think we should be excited for what we're getting into, but I think when you host SNL, there is very much I think the best hosts kind of surrender to the flow, surrender to the process, say yes. And I guess you don't have to say and, you just to say yes when you're doing SNL. Let the people say yes or ask you, and then you can say yes. And I think that's good. I think that's good for an audience too. That's kind of the way I prepare for SNL. I don't usually have a lot of expectations. I'm always ready to just kind of take the ride. I've seen her in a couple of things, and I think she's a very good dramatic actor. I've never seen her do comedy, so I have no idea how she'll handle that. I'll just be crushing on her the whole time because she's arguably like the most beautiful woman in the world.
Definitely.
She is, wow, she's amazing. And so
I'm right here.
I'm sorry. Any other night, Amanda, any other night. So listen, I'm looking forward to it. I hope that she'll do great. I do think she's a good dramatic actor, and very often, people with a little bit of dramatic chops, do really well on this show. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see what comes up this week, and we'll make sure to talk a lot more about that as we preview the show and then break down everything all throughout the week. Actually, I want to make this a quick note before we jump on to what's happening this week with the schedule. Ana Darmus, only the second Cuban host, I believe, ever in the history of the show. Desi Arnaz was the other one who, hosted all the way back in the first season of the show. So that is fun. But yeah, like I said, we're going to talk a lot more about this and finish up our conversation on the Molly Shannon week. So here's what the schedule is going to look like this week. On Wednesday, we have our By the Number show. So Mike Murray will be back with Bill Kenny and Darren Patterson to talk through everything from the week and all the numbers, all the screen time, talk all about Molly Shannon. So if you love numbers and analytics, statistics, make sure to join us on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for that. No patron feedback show on Thursday night this week because I will be traveling to New York City, but we will have a patron feedback show after the Ana de Armas episode. To replace that show, I'm very excited to announce we're going to have a very special conversation with Mikey Day on the show that will come out that evening. So I got to talk to Mikey Day, ask him about some of the sketches that he has done an amazing job on in 2023, including Traffic Altercation, Waffle House, and all of that. Some of the milestone moments, what it's been like to work with these new cast members and, some of his castmates who left the show, how this has been a transitional year for him as much as it's been for SNL. So really great conversation. And I'm so thrilled that I got to talk to Mikey about that. So hope you will check that one out on Thursday. And then Saturday night, the Hot Take Show will be there right after the Ana de Armas and Carol G episode of Saturday Night Live. And I hope you will join us at 1:10 a.m. to break down all of those sketches. All right, Haynes, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can the listeners check out everything you got going on?
I'm always on Twitter at SNL Has a Cast. I made a commitment to you that I would be more involved on social media, and I have been. It's yeah. but listen, it was funny. I spent the night in Atlanta this weekend for a cousin's baby shower. Everyone went to bed early, and I'm like sitting in bed, watching SNL live on Peacock on my phone, and trying to tweet and interact with other folks. And it's very fun. I'm getting a little more into it. So I'm always on Twitter at SNL Has a Cast and Instagram at Candrew Attitude.
Awesome. Amanda, always a pleasure to get to hear from you. Where can listeners reach out to you?
Yes, John, I get to see you also later on this week. It's a
That's true.
Ooh, it's a sandwich.
Can't wait for dinner.
Yes, you can find me at Loch Ness Manda on Twitter and Instagram. You can read my work at refinery29.com. Yeah, that's basically it. Go watch my TikTok live. That's not my Man on the Street series called Street Beat at Refinery29's TikTok. Go like that so I can make more of them. And that's it. Yay! Thank you, John, as always.
Thank you for coming here. And thanks to Sean Grant as well. Make sure to follow him on Twitter and on Instagram to check out all of his stand-up comedy. He is so funny. So if you haven't followed him yet, what are you doing? And you can also find everything we have going on here, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the SNL Network. We're sure to be posting a lot of stuff this week, previewing the Ana de Armas week. You can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify to never miss a show. You'll get notified as soon as that Mikey Day interview comes out, so you can watch it right away. So make sure to click that subscribe button and set your notifications as well. All right, for Sean, Haynes, and Amanda, my name is Jon Schneider from the Saturday Night Network. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.